It started, as most things do, on Facebook. As a friend of mine, don't worry you don't know him, posted a logically coherent objection to a bunch of stuff that Matthew Steele said. Then this spaceman had to go and shoot his laser at Matthew Steele. Why the hate towards Matthew Steele? Well, it's probably because St. Rawman had to stop doing videos for my channel. I've reached new levels of thinking. I've outgrown it. I've converted to Islam. Hook Allah, brothers. Why, St. Rawman? Why? So, I had to investigate. Because this would surely be the end of atheism as we know it. How come people were going insane? And what was the connection with Matthew Steele? Well, it's because he was a voice on Untitled Atheist channel. And Untitled Atheist gave Richard Dawkins a stroke. Richard Dawkins is in this video. And so is Islam. I ask you, viewers, coincidence or design from like some sort of designer, maybe? Yeah, ha 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 ha. And who designed the designer? Well, the answer, my friends, Islam is the true religion because nobody designed the designer. It was a trick question, and that's what's going to end atheism.
Who designed the designer? The God delusion dismantled. From the stars above us to the evolution of life, from an amoeba to the 21st century human, all of it begs the age-old question. Just how did we get here? Was it simply a giant stroke of cosmic luck, or perhaps the work of a conscious designer?
Excluded middle! What, now I'm going to have the logical fallacy counter? What the bleep?
The latest high-profile reply was from Professor Richard Dawkins in his internationally best-selling book, The God Delusion. In it, he claims to come close to proving that God almost certainly does not exist, and you can boil his argument down into 3 simple steps.
Cherry picking and strawman the Muslim. St. Rawman. Strawman. Whatever. Anyways, yeah, let's just boil down his argument and not tell you what page he said this cherry pick quote on or anything like that.
Step 1. The universe is a tapestry of incredible order, complexity, and harmony. Just the Earth itself is filled with highly ordered and therefore highly improbable life forms. Step 2. We could say that this is all a product of a designer, such as God, but then we must ask, who designed the designer? So, invoking God simply won't solve anything. Step 3. We probably don't need a designer anyway. Biologists have shown that natural selection created the highly complex life we know on Earth. Now we just wait for physicists to discover some kind of natural law that tells us how the universe came to be so complex in the first place, and voila. Goodbye, God.
As I said, it's one giant straw man, so let's just, once again, pretend this is totally what he said, and go after the easy one, which is step 2, which totally is not going to require any more logical fallacies.
In step 2, he suggests that everything that is ordered requires a previous designer. But this isn't true. After all, atheists themselves believe that the universe doesn't need a designer, but claim that God does.
Hey, remember the thing that was already a straw man of step 2? We're gonna make it more of a straw man by saying this is what you've said, even though that's not what you said in the first place, compounding the straw man with another straw man. Why are you in parentheses now, question marks? What's the bleeps going on with this counter?
Whereas theists say that the universe needs a designer, but God doesn't.
Theist.
Theists say
Theist.
Theists say
Theist.
So where should we stop? Is the universe undesigned, or is God undesigned?
And the answer is Unicron. Wait, what?
We require a designer when we find that something highly improbable has occurred, which we cannot simply put down to chance. This happens when something develops from a state of lesser organization to a state of greater organization.
That's not how it works.
This journey from a lower state of order
That's not how it works!
to a much higher state of order is always very unlikely to have happened by itself.
I said that's not how it works!
For instance, if you shook a box of Lego and the pieces tumbled out in the shape of the solar system, you'd be very surprised.
And now it's time for Deconverted Man Loses It! And so that's how atheism ended. It was fun while it lasted. But now I guess we all have to be theists. At least I can take small comfort in knowing that lobsterism was already invented and or discovered before this horrible news hit, so at least I can beat... Wait. No, the Supreme Court just ruled that's not a real religion, along with Pastafarianism, even though the government's supposed to stay out of what's religion and not. So, whatever, I guess. We just can't have our fun. Well, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed Deconverted Man. This will be it. What are you doing here, past self? We've got to do something about the future. And the only way to save atheism is for me to switch places with you. Here, take this. Put it in your nose. It will make sense later, maybe. So, what you're saying is, if we change places, then you'll be able to save atheism. Let's do it! Alright, I'm ready. Let's do this thing. Man. You know, maybe it's not worth saving. Screw continuity! And that's how the universe started.
It's just too unlikely for so many separate and disordered pieces of Lego to somehow rearrange themselves into the highly ordered shape of the solar system purely by chance. And needless to say, the real solar system is a lot more complex than the Lego one. However, if there is something that exists that does not move from relative disorder to order, but has rather always existed in the same state, then why would it need a previous designer? Such an entity would simply be. Now that we've understood that his second step is fundamentally not true, we realize that what Dawkins calls the ultimate 747 gambit is in reality the ultimate 747 fallacy. In step 1, he admits that the universe is highly ordered, and that humanity evolved from a much lower state of order to a much higher state of order. Chance, he agrees, is no explanation. But if we rule out chance, then design should be the only other alternative, and design needs a designer. But Dawkins can't accept this, because his second step wrongly asserts that any designer god must also be designed. So how can we explain evident design without a designer? It is here that Dawkins brings us to his illogical conclusion. Step 3. Natural laws are responsible for the order in the universe. The creator is none other than the creator. And so the rest of the video is basically we don't understand how things work, and it can't be chance because that doesn't make sense to us, because again we didn't really understand how evolution works, so we're just going to pretend like, you know, it's all designed because it couldn't just be chance, which it really isn't chance because there's a filtering mechanism, but it doesn't make sense to us, so it can't be that. So it can't be chance because it's not chance, so it's God. And oh yeah, the question of who designed the designer, yeah, basically we're not going to ever address that because there really isn't an answer. Like, the answer is that there isn't an answer. The answer is no one made the designer. It's like a loaded question as far as we're concerned. But instead of using, I don't know, logic and just being like, well, it's a loaded question and here's why we object to it, we're going to go sidetrack red herring off into natural selection, totally misunderstand evolution, mention Dawkins and Darwinism and evolutionism a few times, as we completely misunderstand cosmology as well as evolution, and complain about that it can't be chance because it just can't be chance, but it can be God. And as far as God needing a designer, well, it just doesn't because it's God, so don't think about it too much, and that's just the answer. So it can't be anything else other than the answer that we said it has to be. So eat that. That ends you, atheism. Ha 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 ha.
Well, that's the end of this video. I would love to tell you how many logical fallacies there are, but my fallacy counter seems to have gone missing. If you know where it is, please email it to me at deconvertedman1@gmail.com, at stop adding ats, that's too much ats, at .com, question mark, question mark, question mark, question at, period.